Hi, hello, and welcome in to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show for Monday. I almost said Thursday. I had to catch myself because we're doing a special episode tonight. Monday, April 21st, 2025. I am Eric Balkman. You know me from the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, and the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. You can connect with me on the X at Eric Balkman. That's EricBalkman. You can follow the FFPC there as well at FFPC. We are doing a special Monday show tonight because I have a feeling, as so many of you are fans of this show, I have a feeling that you're probably going to be watching the NFL draft on Thursday night. So instead of broadcasting that live, I wanted to bring in some extra content this week because you're going to be drinking from the fire hose on Thursday night. Why not do a show on Monday? Why not do sort of a final wrap-up of everything that you need to know for fantasy, for your dynasty rookie drafts, and everything going on in Green Bay, Wisconsin here coming up this weekend. So we're doing a special Monday show tonight. I'm going to bring in my guest co-host in a second, but before we do, some things have changed at the FFPC since the last time we broadcast, which was Thursday. Number one, kudos to all of you. Shout out to all the fans of this show who have filled the FFPC Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball Tournament. Registration is done for that. It was going to close on Thursday anyway for the NFL draft, but that is all full up. However, if you are still looking for some Never Too Early action, we have exactly 48 teams to go out of the 1,728 teams where we capped the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Registration is still going on for that right now. The slow drafts are closed. The live drafts still open. There's going to be the live drafts are closed tonight, but we'll have 2 live drafts tomorrow, 2 on Wednesday, and 3 on Thursday. The last one just needs 4 more people to sign up for. It starts at 6 o'clock Eastern, and that draft should end right before essentially the NFL draft starts that night. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that. Remember, $125 gets you in, and you can win up to $40,000 for a grand prize here. So check that out. Tournament running through Thursday or sooner if we fill up these live drafts before that. 30-second clock. No, the sit and goes are closed as well. So just the live 60-second drafts are all we have left for the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. If you want to get your Superflex on, I am proud to announce that the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament is going on right now. We have registration going on. We've already got a handful of teams signed up. $100,000 grand prize, and you can enter for $35. No kicker, no defense, no head-to-head matchups. Don't have to set your lineups. It's the great thing about best ball. $100,000 grand prize. Enter for $35 now at myffpc.com. While you're there, you can check out the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. A $1 million grand prize is at stake. It's a $350 entry fee. You get a $50 discount for every third team you pick up. Drafts have been going on for a while now. The early Rampage tournament is going on as well as the 7 Bananas. Bulky, what's the early Rampage tournament? I'm going to tell you that right now. It's the first, basically, if you are in a league in the Big Gorilla and you are one of the first 200 teams, 200 leagues, excuse me, that's 2,400 teams. If you're one of the first 2,400 teams, your entry is not only good for the Big Gorilla tournament, it's good for the early Rampage tournament. So you're going to win $1 million in the Big Gorilla and an additional $10,000 grand prize in the early Rampage tournament to reward everybody who is drafting early out there. The 7 Bananas thing, that's pretty fun as well. The 7 Bananas is a thing we came up with this year. If you continue to get the 7 pick multiple times in a row, we're going to reward you for that. A lot of people say, I'm so sick of getting this pick. Well, now if you keep getting that streak going, you could win a free best ball tournament entry, which is $125, a free main event team entry, which is basically a $2,200 value, a free high society entry, $10,000 value. And if you win the 7 pick, 5 consecutive drafts in the Big Gorilla, which I think the best anybody's done so far this season has been 3. Leon 23 won 3 in a row. So he got his free main event entry, $2,200 value. And we've seen this happen before, but if you get it 5 times in a row, boom, Jungle Safari for 4, courtesy of the FFPC, or you could just take $50,000 cash, whichever you want. So that's the Big Gorilla Tournament. Check it out at myffpc.com. We also sold out all of our orphan teams for the year. If you want to pick up an orphan, I'm sorry, we'll have some more for next year. You can get those great deals there. But for right now, the startups are going strong right now over at myffpc.com. That is where you can register for Empire Dynasty League, Superflex Dynasty League, Standard, Best Ball, whatever. They range an entry fee from $100 all the way up to $5,000. As a reminder, we've had 1,800 plus leagues in the last decade and a half with the FFPC, and none have ever folded. So check that out at myffpc.com. Shout out to our producer, Matt Deutsch, who is pushing all the buttons, working behind the glass tonight. I think we can bring in our co-host right now, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him, you follow him on the X at dbro_FFB. He is of Betting Pros fame. He is of Fantasy Pros fame. And tonight he rejoins us on this show. Derek, I got to tell you, you are one of my favorite guests on this program. Looking forward to hanging out with you tonight. Please welcome into the program once again, Derek Brown. Good evening, sir.
Balky, it's always a good time. You can hear me okay, buddy, huh?
You're coming through great. Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry. I know I'm coming in here on 2 wheels, man, trying to hit dad life, NFL draft. It's all wild, dude. And man, anytime I get a day where you reach out and you say, hey, you got time to hop on the show? If I can make it happen, you know I'm here, baby. I love talking ball with you. You're one of my favorites in the business, man. And I mean, damn, dude, like, this is like with us, like, is this like the 6th, 7th? I mean, I've lost count of how many shows we've done together, man.
Yeah, and you've hopped on this show. You've hopped on our Pros versus Joes coverage. You've hopped on our live draft coverage with the Fantasy Pros Championship over the last couple of years.
I actually said yes, I'll be in Pros versus Joes. I confirmed that with Mojo yesterday. So I'm rocking it again next year, baby.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And now correct me if I'm wrong. I was telling Matt before the show, is this your 2nd or 3rd live stream of the day so far?
This is my 4th.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is my 4th show of the day, dude. Okay. I had 2 one for BP, 1 for Fantasy Pros, and then I did another one with some friends in the industry, and just got back from picking up my daughter from piano, and we're rocking a 4th show, and I got writing to do tonight after this, dude. I mean, it just doesn't stop, baby. We got a week of content, and it's gonna be awesome.
What's this week like for you, Derek? Because I think a lot of people have wrapped up their coverage, but for you, you're still going strong. The coffee is going strong. You're doing streams. You're doing content for Fantasy Pros. The energy drinks are flowing like wine or milk and honey or whatever it is right now. But this is crazy for you, and quite frankly, like I would say that even during the draft and then after the draft, then it picks up even more for you because then you have to incorporate all the veterans into all your analysis as well.
Oh yeah. So this week is wild. It's very, very busy. But honestly, I mean, like, if you don't lean into that and love it, then you're in the wrong business, because we built up to this for weeks, for months, and now the NFL draft is here this week. So it's grind time, dude. It's time to press the gas all the way down to the metal, and it's time to go. So, I mean, really, like, if you're not about that life, then, you know, and maybe they sit in the lane that you should be traveling in, and that's fine. But for me, man, yeah, I've got a slew of shows for BP, for FP. We're doing Dynasty stuff. I got betting content I got to get out this week, and the big love list thing for me this week that I'm still building to, and then I'm getting back to the writing tonight is Thursday morning. Draft day.
Top 100, baby.
Yes, sir. The top 100 will be out. So that is 100 for everybody. That is the top 100 skill player write-ups for this year. So this is all you want for fantasy. Like, this is not like, I'm not doing D-line, corners, all this other crap. It is quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, 100 prospects with full scouting write-up stats, comps, everything. And right now, as we sit, I'm at 87. So they're the 13, and we're good to go, dude. Good to go.
That's awesome. And I know, like, so is that your last big piece of written work
big one
pre-draft? Okay. Yep. All right. Got it.
Because all my other positional primers are already live, and every one of these write-ups is going into those as well. Those keep, as I kind of toss players or I get done with players for the top 100, those are getting added to all the positional primers. So if anybody's got those bookmarked or has read those are also getting updated and will be updated, like you talked about, Balky. Like, just because the draft gets here doesn't mean that anything stops, dude. Yeah. Like, I'm live for day 1 and day 2 of the draft. I think I'm live talking ball on Fantasy Pros YouTube for 29 of the 32 first-round picks, as well as those 100 players that I'm currently, like, grinding to write up. Once we get landing spots, every single one of them will have an outlook and an updated write-up for their dynasty and kind of redraft outlook as well. So yeah, it ain't slowing down, dude. Like we're 80 miles an hour the whole freaking week.
Scott Pianowski from Yahoo brought this up with me, and it's something that stuck with me the last time he co-hosted the show with me. It was getting towards the end of the 2024 season, and I said, Scott, is the grind real, or are you getting tuckered out? Yeah, like and he said, look, man, like, yeah, it's tough, but we work in the toy department. Nobody is going to feel bad for us. Like this is our blessing. I'm not going to complain. And he did it. And it's one of those things I just like, we're all going to get burned out from time to time, but it is fun getting burned out on something like this, especially when you consider, Derek, all these takes, all the things that you and I are going to talk about tonight. They get a fresh makeover, a fresh coat of paint Thursday night, Friday at night, when we find out where all these guys are going to land, which kind of reinvents the whole thing for us. And it's a rejuvenation process for all of us, patrons, content creators, whatever. Like, we get excited all over again when these guys have landing spots.
Oh, absolutely. And all of it gets spit shine, because once you have landing spots, then you get to dive into how that all looks. Where do guys go? Did guys get the draft capital that we wanted to? What does it mean for all this? And honestly, I think that once we get all these landing spots and stuff like that, I think especially because when you look at just even from the simple, like everybody is hammered on the running backs of this draft class. But the thing that we don't know, and we're still waiting to get all the answers to the test on, is outside of the top through 2 to 3 guys, where do they go? Do we see a bunch of guys go in round 2? Do they get pushed down to round 3 and 4? And there's just a bonanza in those 2 rounds of skill guys. We're about to find out, Balky. We're about to find out.
We are, and we're going to try to help you sort through it as best we can tonight. 3 segments on the show tonight. We're going to go around the NFL here. More of an emphasis on tight ends and quarterbacks in this first segment, because what I want to do in the second segment tonight, you put out your top 12 receivers this year. I think there's a lot to unpack with some of the guys you like, some of the guys you don't like there. That'll be the second segment. And then in the third segment tonight, we're going to go through your guys. The my guys thing has been. When did my guys become a thing? Was that like 2 or 3 years ago? Because now everybody's got a my guys thing now.
I don't know. I tweeted about it like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm definitely not the original author of this. But yeah, I do see that like a lot of people are out there putting it. Like for me, it's just like I want people, and then like when you tweet stuff like out, they're like, "Oh, so and so didn't make the list, huh?" And to me, like what this comes down to is, who are the guys you're willing to trade into rookie drafts for? The guys you're willing to go to war for? The guys you're going to trade up for? The players, and I'm very big on this, Balky. Like I don't play the ADP games. Like when I walk into drafts, I walk into rookie drafts, I'm getting my dudes. Okay. Yeah. So really for me, it's like I'm paring the list down. And it's like, if I were to tell you, if you only had a certain number of picks or players, if you're sitting on the clock or you're on the outside looking in and you don't have any picks in a rookie draft, but hey, I'm in the 3rd round. Oh, look, let me see the names. These are the players that where I'm like, I am going to actively be trying to trade in or trade up and aggressively target some of these guys.
I think the last segment is going to be heavily dominated by, and I may have said this already, the running backs, who are your guys. So we'll go quarterbacks, tight ends in the first segment, and then receivers, and then running backs. And that'll be our last show. And then the next time we go live again, it'll be May, and we'll find out where all these guys are playing. Okay, I'm going to kick things off here with the tight end discussion. In honor of WrestleMania weekend, we will not necessarily have the main featured event here to kick things off. But I would say higher than the mid card here. Tyler Warren versus Colston Loveland. Tyler Warren, a guy that really came on this past year at Penn State. The counting numbers were awesome. Colston Loveland, a year ago, was coming off a national championship victory and did not get hurt. And then 2024, Michigan took a step back and he was injured. And I think that's prevented us from really, I don't want to say prevented us, but prevented a lot of people from truly valuing Colston Loveland properly for this drafting season. Now he's picking up some steam here. And in fact, I would say like a month or two ago, people were talking about him not even going in the first round. And now it could be the first half of the first round, Derek. As far as fantasy goes, and you look at Warren's game and you look at Loveland's game, we don't know landing spots yet. But when you compare these two guys, are they actually closer than what a lot of people would say as far as fantasy skills go? Or do you think that the distance between Warren and Loveland is warranted?
I think the distance is warranted. Now, when you look just from a rankings perspective, I think Tyler Warren sits in his own tier by himself. Now, I will say the same exact thing of Colston Loveland. Like how I have these two guys parsed out, I think that Tyler Warren sits by himself. He's in my only tier 1 tight end. Colston Loveland is my tight end 2 of this class, and he is the guy that stands alone by himself in tier 2. Now, unpacking they are very widely different players. And I know that's not like breaking any new ground, but like looking at Tyler Warren, it's the physicality that he plays with. It's the ability to take an underneath like dump off or a screen or a 5-yard in and then be able to break tackles and create for himself after the catch. And I'm not saying that Loveland can't do that, but the other part about it is the blocking and stuff. And I think that all comes back to, I think what we're looking at with Tyler Warren is an unquestioned 3-down tight end in the NFL, and the physical nature that he plays with, he has the speed to stretch the seam. Now we could talk about, does he have elite speed? Now I know he didn't test. I think that was a lot of it because he would have tested well, but not to the elite level, like where we're talking about a George Kittle and all these other guys. So it's like, I like Warren a lot. I don't think that when we look even at Tyler Warren, I don't think that he belongs in the same talent phylum as a Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, or Trey McBride, but he's right below that. Now, looking at Loveland's game, I really like Loveland's game. Now, my worry about Loveland is I feel like he is the Ferrari version of a long tier of basically every tight end, almost every tight end in this class you could talk about is a big slot receiver. All these guys got 50 to 70%, some a little bit higher of slot and out wide usage. Loveland's right there in that phylum. Like you look at his career at Michigan, he's at that almost about 60%, right on knocking on the door of 60% slot and out wide. Now the difference in their two games and what scares me a little bit for Colston Loveland is, could he get Dalton Kincaided where he's a 65% route share guy and they want to go heavy or the blocking comes into it. I'm not saying Loveland can't at least be a passable blocker. And we could say, okay, but if he gets drafted in round 1, a team's got a plan in place to put him in there and maximize him, right? Okay, but the assumption of rational coaching has got us into a lot of issues and worries in previous years. I mean, we can go back and talk about that. I mean, hell, just look at Dalton Kincaid. We said, like, okay, last year is the monster breakout season. Like, they don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. And I know Kincaid dealt with some injuries, but still, we saw him capped to a certain extent. And I worry about that with Loveland. Now, does he have the speed, the athletic traits, and the ability, and is he a big wide receiver? Yes. But there are some, I'm not going to say holes in his game, but parts of his game that I don't think get discussed enough in the sense of, can you use him down the seam? Yes. Is he a good route runner? Yes. He's not an elite yak guy, though. Like, we are discussing a player that also only generated 5.4 yards out of the catch per reception. You look at Tyler Warren versus him, there's a big difference there. And the other part about his game is, Balky, if I were to ask you how many over 3 seasons, and I'll even throw out the reception number, 117 receptions for Colston Loveland. How many missed tackles do you think he forced at Michigan?
Got to be 40 to 50.
Try 8.
Oh my God.
8. But that's it. Like, so I mean, for me, it's not, and I know I sound like I'm shading Loveland a lot here. I'm not shading him. It's the fact that I'm just being real about his talent versus Tyler Warren. And when you stack it up against the other guys, like, I don't put him, and I've heard the name Sam Laporta and a lot of other like high end tight ends brought up in the same conversation as Colston Loveland. I don't put him in that type of rarefied air. Like, could he be Evan Ingram? I think that's definitely possible. Maybe a better version of Evan Ingram. But I don't think that he's on the same talent shelf that even a Tyler Warren is, just looking at what he did and didn't do in college and projecting him forward.
What do you make of the Better Boss chiming in on YouTube tonight? Tyler Warren is George Kittle 2.0. You think that's a fair comp?
I don't think it's a fair comp because I don't think he's as athletic as George Kittle. Like, I mean, George Kittle, like, come on, man. Like, we also have to understand, like, George Kittle is an otherworldly type of athlete. And maybe Warren is a really good athlete, but do we think that he is George Kittle level of type of athletic? Like, to the point where, like, and I'm pulling up George Kittle's testing metrics right now, because just to the point of, okay, I don't think Tyler Warren has 4.52 speed. Does he have 4.6 speed? Possibly. Is he a 72nd percentile vertical jump? Maybe, but doubtful. Would he have tested with a 98th percentile broad jump? I don't know. I don't think so based off of the film. But the other thing is, if Tyler Warren had those type of athletic measurables in the bag, wouldn't he have tested? Don't we think he would have tested?
It's a good point. Well, okay. Well, is there something to be said? Like, where did George Kittle get drafted? He was not a first-round pick.
Oh no, he wasn't a first-round guy.
Right.
But that's
yeah. Warren knew he was going to be a first-round guy.
Fair.
So then,
that's fair.
Then what's the motivation for him to test? I'm not saying that's why he did it, but I'm saying that's a possibility.
Yeah,
and we don't know.
And that's the same conversation we can have around Ashton Genty and a lot of other guys that just said, or even Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. Like, we could say, okay, I mean, what was the point of testing? He's probably only going to hurt, probably not help his stock when you were talking about a top 10 draft pick. And I fully can concede to that. I guess just for me, like, so we don't have the testing metrics to fall back on. And this is, and I want to be very, very careful and articulate with this. Tight end is the most highly correlated position to athleticism out of any other skill position in fantasy. You will not see a non-elite athlete become an elite tight end and producer in fantasy. It does not happen. Like, you just go down the list of like otherworldly athletes, and you cannot access the elite tier of tight ends if you don't have elite athleticism. So again, this is not me shading Tyler Warren. My comp for him is Jeremy Shockey. So I'm putting respect on his name. And if you would put Shockey in today's NFL, not yesteryear's NFL, today's NFL, if you airdrop Shockey into today's NFL, he would have unequivocally finished his career with better numbers than he did.
Interesting. I want to move on here in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, which still 48 spots available if you want to sign up, myffpc.com. Warren and Loveland are clearly the top two rookies being drafted in this tournament. After that, we see Harold Fannin Jr., we see Mason Taylor, we see Elijah Arroyo, we see Terrence Ferguson. Who is Derek Brown's number 3 tight end in this class? I mean, and just frame it for Dynasty, I guess, would be the best way to do it.
It's Elijah Arroyo, and I think it's pretty easy for me. Now, I do have in my tier 3 of tight ends, it's Elijah Arroyo, Terrence Ferguson, and Mason Taylor. I do think in that tier, while I do have them in the same tier based off of where I think talent-wise, draft capital, all that kind of stuff, like I think all those guys probably go somewhere between round 2 and round 3. Taylor probably before the other two guys, but I think Arroyo probably goes in round 2 after everything he's done in the pre-draft process. And he's my tight end 3 because I think he has the best set of high, and I know that he didn't test. Okay. So again, another guy that we're projecting as far as like, how athletic are you? I think if you look at the miles per hour on Elijah Arroyo, I think that he would be one of the most athletic guys in this class, or even close to it, man. And then you put it like the efficiency stats that he put up in his final year at Miami were just fantastic. I mean, top 24 in yards per route run, receiving grade, second in yak per reception. So, and then if you add all of that to dude, I saw him dominating guys in Mobile. Like, he was one of the guys when you walk away from Senior Bowl and you were like, there is no way on God's green earth that anybody out there, but straight up, could not write words praising Elijah Arroyo. Because you'll see a lot of people come out of Senior Bowl and they're like, this guy's a winner, this guy's a winner. And then somebody is standing across the aisle, he had a terrible week, blah, 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 didn't get open, nothing like that. There is nobody that was down there in Mobile that can walk away from Senior Bowl and not tell you that Elijah Arroyo had one of, if not like a top 5, just smash week, just crushing it every part of the week. Nobody could cover him. They put corners on him. They put linebackers on him. Nobody could stay with him. He capped the week, Balky, by the last practice, which a lot of times you'll see in Mobile. guys, if they crush day one and maybe day two, you'll see where I'm not going to say there's injury brouhaha that happens, but there are guys that will opt out and they'll leave and they won't even be there for day three of practice, much less the game, because they're like, I've done enough, baby. Like my draft capital is good. I'm good. I'm out. Peace. See ya. Alec Pierce did that. Puka Nacua did that the previous years and stuff like that. And Elijah Arroyo, I thought he was going to do that, but he stayed. And at the end of day three, when he was crushing it, he broke a crosser across the middle and scored a touchdown. And one of the moments in Mobile that I will remember and people will talk about for years to come is after he scored the touchdown, he takes the ball and he punts the football into the front row of the stands. So I don't know how anybody can walk away without feeling really good about Elijah Arroyo, considering what he did in college and what he did in Mobile. So he's my clear tight end 3 of this class.
Where did he rank? And I don't know if you did ranks before the Senior Bowl, but I mean, how much so how much did he change as far as your ranks go with Arroyo pre-Senior Bowl to post-Senior Bowl for you?
I had him tight end 3, pre and post, and pre and post combine. So,
but the distance got a lot bigger after the Senior Bowl, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And there was more of a shuffling of like tight end 4 through tight end 10. Like I had Gunnar Helm at right there next to Arroyo, and after his testing, and then we didn't get any other testing at the pro day. He just dropped off the map for me, and then I had to kind of move some other guys around that maybe I was like, okay, I think they'll test a little bit better than they did, and then they fell on their face. So the ranks were pretty consistent. My top 3 guys, pre Senior Bowl, post, and pre combine and post. It was everybody else behind that was kind of like just reshuffling of the cards.
Debro, let me ask you this. I can't remember where. I know I read you. I don't know if it was on X or Fantasy Pros or whatever, but I remember you. And this could have been like months ago too. Mason Taylor, I thought you were not very high on him, and you might have labeled him a bust. Is that still the case? And why don't you like him as far as fantasy goes once he gets to the next level?
And I'm going to say, okay, let me make sure I'm clear on this. I think he is a worry to be a bust with the expectations that are being placed on him, and the way that people are talking about him. Like I've seen out there in the space, like Daniel Jeremiah has him as a first-round prospect, or at least the last time I saw it had him as a top 32 guy in this class. There is no way in hell I can get behind that. Like I just can't. And all respect to Jeremiah, but this is not me tossing shade and stuff like that. But I just want to give context. Like if I'm going to reference where a guy is ranked, I'm going to tell you where it's coming from and stuff like that. So like for me, I just can't get on board with that with Mason Taylor. And this is not shade against him, but my problem with Mason Taylor is I think that he will be an incredibly solid starting tight end in the NFL. But when we talk about it, and I go back to, again, you're looking at high-end athleticism correlating to high-end production in fantasy. That's where my pause comes at with Mason Taylor. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, how are we talking about Mason Taylor, like having this high-end outcome, considering, I mean, even if you go and look at his testing, Balky, it wasn't amazing. Like, this isn't a player that we're talking about ran a 4.5. Yeah, he walked away with an 8.8 RAS, but a 4.68 40. His short shuttle was bad. His 3-cone was okay. His 10-yard split, 20-yard split, none of one of those are good, and he didn't jump. And if you're not jumping and you do all those other things, it's because you know your jumps are not good. So you marry all of that with the film and the analytical profile. Like if Balky, if I were to tell you, there is a player that is ranked as a top 32 guy in this class that is getting a lot of puff and praise. His dad's a former NFL player, and yet this is where he sits over the last 3 years in yards per route run: 63rd, 99th, and 94th amongst all FBS tight ends with 20 targets or more, as well as he's not a prolific tackle breaker. He's not generating a ton of yak. Then, I mean, really, like, what's really carrying the water for Mason Taylor? Is it his last name and the fact that he went to LSU and all of the puff and the narratives? Or is it actual substance? And going back to it, Mason Taylor over 3 years of college, and I'll do the same thing I did with Colston Loveland. 129 receptions. The man forced 14 missed tackles. So if you look at the testing and the analytics, do they match up with the hype that he's getting? Because I don't think it does.
Yeah, it doesn't. It definitely does not. And you could be right on the last name thing too. The RAS score is nice. It's not elite. He's not an elite speed guy at all. And we talked about how important, you talked about how important athleticism is to the tight end position once we get to the next level. And Mason Taylor, I guess, what you're saying, not necessarily a bust. You think he's going to be a very solid tight end in the NFL, but is that what we're looking for fantasy? Probably
no.
Not. We want the upside guys.
Could he be Cade Otton? Maybe. Could he be Jake Ferguson? Sure.
Yeah.
Do I think that there is any way, shape, form, or fashion that he is Mark Andrews, George Kittle, the elite of the elite, the next Travis Kelce, whatever, however you want to frame that, the top 3 to 5 guys perennially over the last 3 to 4 years? No, I don't see that. Could he be a low-end tight end one? Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. But is that really somebody we're saying is worth possible first round draft capital? Hell no.
That's the tricky thing, is what happens if some team either takes him at the back end of the first round or trades up from the top of the second into the first to take Mason Taylor, because that's going to screw stuff up for our rookie drafts. Dom Gazzetti, speaking of rookie drafts, has a tight end rookie draft question. And I'm assuming this is tight end premium here. Maybe it's not, but he's got the 111, 201, 209, 301. He's got the AARP of tight ends with Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. He wants to know, we just talked about this Warren Loveland discussion. Where do you stand on Colston Loveland for Dom's team here with one of those picks if Warren already goes? I mean, for me, you already talked about the distance between these two guys is warranted. But if I'm looking at that team in the face and I have all those picks in a whatever that is, a 14 pick span, I'd love to get Loveland with one of those picks for sure.
I'm fine with Loveland there. The other thing that I consider and tell you too is that, you have a slew of guys right now. Like, maybe you're worried about Kelce retiring and Ertz, this is the last hurrah. That's fine. I mean, for me, it would take a decent premium. And the other thing about it is, if you're in a decent premium, he's probably gone before the 111. Maybe I'm wrong there, but
bullseye. Philip Hooton chiming in right now, former FFPC, I believe, Terminator champ, also won the FFPC main event, chiming in right now. Tight end premium, they're probably both gone before that. If it's not tight end premium, you got a shot at these guys. At least with Loveland.
And I think looking at Dom's, to me, all right, and I'll play it out this way, Balky. Would I rather take Loveland even if he's there at the 111, or would I rather take Elijah Arroyo at maybe the 2.9 or the 3.1? I would much rather, and this is assuming Elijah Arroyo goes top into the third, somewhere in the second, somewhere, and that's where I think his draft capital probably sits at. Give me Arroyo a round and a half after those guys, overtaking Loveland at the 111, when maybe I'm getting a running back that goes round 2, round 3, or a wide receiver that goes round 2, so that I would just rather take the discount of an Elijah Arroyo or a Terrence Ferguson.
I think, when you have that many picks, you can afford to wait, right? Because you'll have a dart throw here. You'll have a dart throw here. It's not like you just have one dart throw after that first 111 pick. So that totally makes sense to me. Okay. Last tight end thing I have to bring up. And Matt Deutsch, our producer tonight, we were talking about this before the show tonight. Thomas Fidone. This is a player that I have, and I live in Wisconsin. I follow the Badgers. I was not aware of Thomas Fidone's presence for the Cornhuskers this year in the Big Ten. Then I see you posting about him, writing about him here. Thomas Fidone, speaking of tight end premium leagues, why is this a player that FFPC players should know about for their rookie drafts?
Because he tested like a mutant, man. This is after coming off, I want to say it was torn ACLs in 2021 and 2022. I know he did. I'm pretty sure it's torn ACLs, just riffing off the top of my head. But I know he had significant knee injuries in back-to-back seasons that really slowed his ability as far as gaining steam. But this dude, he went to Mobile and he is a high cut, galloping, he dude looks like a freaking gazelle, man. He honestly, as a player that looks, and he tested extremely athletic. He ran a 4.7 40. And again, I know I just talked about Mason Taylor and I was shading a 4.68, but looking at, that's fast enough. And looking at Fidone, you look at all the rest of his like he did every single test, Balky. It wasn't like he shied away from all this. And every single test was 83rd percentile or higher. His damn broad jump was 97th percentile. So as a player that's like 6'5", 243, he's right there in the athleticism wheelhouse. He's right there in the size. He could play all three downs. You look at coming out of Nebraska, like that's not a team we're talking about had a prolific passing attack. So really it's like we got to go back to the film and we got to look at what this guy does. Do I think that he has the upside to be a true like top 3, top 5 elite guy? No, but I think that there might not be, if he lands in a really good situation and becomes a starter in short order, there might not be a giant divide in the production that you get it in a Thomas Fidone versus Mason Taylor over the next few years, considering how that might play out. So whereas like time in premium formats, people are like, oh, Mason Taylor circling the board, put him in the queue. Again, I would much rather just take the discount that we're going to get on Thomas Fidone, just based off of his skill set, based off the athleticism. And dude, he's a guy that Nebraska, honestly, I think really utilized him very, very poorly because he's got the size and the speed to chew up yards and get down the seam. Nebraska never used him down the seam. It was all ins and outs and crossers. And what's really impressive about him is you don't see a lot of tight ends that are 6'5", 243 that can sink their hips as well as Thomas Fidone can. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was productive as enough as he was with the route tree that he was tasked with versus like if you would have gotten him, if he'd have been going to a different college and they would have used him more down the seam or allow him to bump the ADOT up, I think the efficiency metrics would have looked better for him.
Fidone is a player who has caught 61 passes over the last 2 years, including 36 last year. Just a shade under 400 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, all in 2023. Again, if they weren't using him properly and he still accrued those stats and he tested like this, yes, this is a player you need to be made aware of in your FFPC tight end premium leagues here going forward. Now, I want to shift over to quarterbacks here. Jackson Dart has been all over the place. I saw him locked in as like, okay, he's going to be going sometime on Friday, probably in the second round. To now, I think the betting markets have him placed in the first round of the draft, perhaps maybe as early as the top 10. I think that's aggressive, but there's a non-zero chance of that. Where do you stand on Jackson Dart? Because I think draft capital will figure into this as well, D-Bro, but where do you figure Jackson Dart lands in the pros as far as what type of fantasy career is going to, like, does he have the look of the type of player that could have a successful NFL career where you need to be paying attention to him in super flex leagues?
Yes, sir. I love Jackson Dart. I've been 10 toes down on him since before the Senior Bowl. As soon as I wrote up, I get to all these guys after the regular season is done. Then I immediately dive into the rookies, and it becomes as soon as the regular season is done for the NFL, once playoffs start and stuff like that, I take a step back and it's the rookie dive in. Like I've got to get all these guys written up, watched, all that kind of stuff before Senior Bowl happens. So Jackson Dart, ever since and this is one of the things that I love about like how I come into this process is I don't get saddled with all these narratives about like, oh, he had this or he crumbled or I wasn't a big fan of his game. I've watched him, and no shade to Devy players, but you'll talk to a lot of people in the Devy space that are like, I've watched him for 7 years. I know whether he's good or not. I scouted him in high school. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about any of that noise, man. What I care about is the efficiency stats. What I care about is the film and can the guy play or can he not? And you cut through all the BS and you cut through the narratives. And I love Jackson Dart, man. He has been my QB2 of this class for the entirety of the process. And that above Cam Ward, who is my QB3 of the class. And Jackson Dart, you just look at the marriage of skills, man. Like he's got good ball placement. He throws with touch. He can layer throws into the second level, and he's got a really freaking good deep ball. And I did not put this as my comp because I don't want people to get wild and ridiculous about stuff. There was a lot when you watch his game, how he throws the ball, the rushing upside, and he's not near the rusher as this player that I'm about to mention here. And I want to make sure that I'm framing this correctly. I'm not saying that he is him. there's a lot of, from a passing perspective, where you can put these guys side by side, that Jackson Dart is very similar to Jaden Daniels on multiple levels with how he throws the ball, what the composition of his game is. And I hear everybody have problems with the fact that he's coming out of Ole Miss, and everybody have problems with the fact that he's coming out of a Lane Kiffin system. Didn't we hear the same things? And I'll own an L here when I bring this up here, Balky. Didn't we hear the same things about Bo Nix last year? He came from a system. He was not going to be very good. Didn't we hear the same crap about Jaden Daniels? All he throws is go balls and slot fades, and he's too skinny. And I mean, I'm old enough to remember Balky when Jaden Daniels he apparently didn't know how to slide, and people were worried that he was going to get blown up and not make it in the NFL past week 2. And people could say that I'm being extremely hyperbolic. Dude, I mean, I'm not lying here. People said that last process. It was out there. It was said. With Jackson Dart, it's a collection of skills that I think he can be an extremely good NFL quarterback. And I think he's worthy of a first-round grade. I've had a first-round grade on him the entire time. I have been out here pounding the table since I heard from multiple people, and I'm not a source guy, but I will tell people what I hear. And I heard in Mobile that he was going top 15 in the NFL draft, and I've said that, and I believe it, and now we've seen the mainstream media come around to it.
Yep.
He is going first round of the NFL draft, so let's not get that twisted. And I think he's going to go top 12. I don't see how he gets past the Saints at 9.
What do you make of him, Derek? Like, he was going to go to the draft in Green Bay, and now apparently he's not going to the draft in Green Bay. Is this just like, it's noise? It doesn't matter?
I think it's noise.
It's noise. It's just a weird thing to see.
Yeah, I think it's noise. And the other side of this is like, I mean, everybody's got personal decisions. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that would tell you, like, look, if I was an NFL prospect, I mean, a million people would say, hey, I'm going to the draft. I want the spectacle. I'm here for it. How many other people would just simply make the decision to say, screw that? I want to be around my family, and I want to sit at home and stuff like that, you know, and I want to be around the people that have loved and supported me throughout this journey since I was playing Pop Warner freaking football at 8 years old. So just because a guy doesn't want to go to the NFL draft, even if he is invited, hello, Shadur Sanders, doesn't mean that we need to talk crap about him.
I think the other thing that always reminds me of Joe Thomas, legendary offensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns from the Wisconsin Badgers on Wisconsin. That guy decided, and he knew he was going to be a top 5 pick.
Yep.
And what did he
know exactly where you're going.
2nd or 3rd overall in the draft, somewhere around there. He was on a boat fishing.
He was fishing. He was fishing.
Yeah, he's like, screw it. I'm not even going to watch it. I'm not going to be there. Somebody will call me and tell me where I need to fly to. And that's exactly what happened. And he was a legend. So, yeah, I think you're right. There are personal decisions that go into this. Last thing I want to bring up in this segment here, and I think it's important to talk about. Derek, I was down on Jalen Milroe, and now I've kind of come up to kind of being indifferent on him. However, if this dude gets first-round draft capital, and he is picked by the Steelers, or he's picked by a team who maybe chooses not to draft Sanders, or doesn't get a shot at Cam Ward, and they trade back into the first round from the second round, and all of a sudden Jalen Milroe has first-round draft capital, I feel like I have to reevaluate what I'm doing with this guy in Dynasty Superflex rookie drafts, just based on draft capital alone. How do you feel about Jalen Milroe? Where do you stand on him as a prospect as he moves from Alabama to the NFL?
I'm not a fan. I've had to, right now, if people looking at my rankings, and I'll be very, very clear on this. Right now I'm on FantasyPros.com. In my rankings, I have him buried in the 4th round of rookie drafts. Like he's my 44th overall player. And there's a small amount of draft capital that's baked into all this, but with a player like Milroe, we're hearing a lot of stuff about his draft capital being in the 1st or 2nd round. I think that I don't think that's smoke. I think that definitely can happen. I think there are a lot of teams that really like him. I think the quarterback market is really starved. And I think Milroe probably either goes at the back end of the 1st round or the top of the 2nd round. I think it just depends on what teams can trade up or trade back into and what that all looks like, if they're going to get compensation to do so. I think that's going to be the bigger determinant for an NFL team. But I mean, right now, as it sits, I think Jalen Milroe, and I'll say I'm hand holding with this take with my friend Thor Nystrom, in that you look at Cleveland, there are coordinator lines that you can draw to connect the dots here, as well as they've done a lot of homework on Jalen Milroe. I think Cleveland either takes him at the top of the second or takes him at the back end of the first round. So if that does happen, I will be bumping Jalen Milroe up to somewhere, I mean, depending on where he goes and where all these other players, because again, we're going to have to see where all these, he's going to probably be at least like a mid-second round guy for me in Dynasty rookie drafts. I'm probably not going to get to the point, even in Superflex formats, where I'm going to take him at the back end of the first. That's just not where I'm at.
Okay.
I understand if people take him there, but I have a lot of worries about Jalen Milroe. If he doesn't, and this all comes down to Balky, like, look at how the NFL has trended over the last few years. Teams are not giving these guys just second and third chances and full rookie deals to prove can they play or can they not. I mean, look at what's happened. Now we could talk about Justin Fields' career arc. We could talk about Anthony Richardson. We could talk about, Carolina and Bryce Young. And yeah, like, okay, Carolina, like Bryce Young played really, really well, but he got benched. What if he didn't play really well when he came back? Like, we would say, okay, is Carolina live to take a quarterback in this year's draft? If that didn't happen when he got the starting job back. But this is all to say the NFL doesn't have this long leash for guys, even if they are drafted in the first round anymore. It's you've got to put up, and this, I mean, look at Richardson. The Colts knew they were drafting a project guy. He gets hurt. He's not able to start much. And then and then they just bail for the entire idea around it. And I'm not saying Cleveland does that, but I mean, would we be all that surprised if that happens, or if Cleveland drafts Jalen Milroe, Stefanski gets fired after this year, and then we're like in purgatory of the next coach. Is he going to believe in Milroe or is he not? And so with Milroe, I'm very low on him as a passer. Like, does he have the arm strength? Yes. But as far as the processing, getting through progressions, everything else, the consistent touch on his passes, it's just not there. And so I've got worries. He could be really good for fantasy just based off of what he does with his legs. But if you're telling me, do I want to take that swing on a guy and expect for the next 4 years that he's going to be a starting quarterback on my fantasy roster, that's where I'm kind of like, I'm going to capitulate and I'm going to bump him up. But I think there's an area in the in-between where I live.
I think that's the area we should be living in with Milroe until we find out what happens on Thursday night. And if nothing happens on Thursday night, we can probably bump him down a little bit. We can not be as concerned with if he gets Friday draft capital as opposed to Thursday. That's going to be important. That's going to be something we'll be watching. And that is something that I think we'll be discussing on next Thursday's show with me and my special guest host on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show. Here's what I want to do, Derek. I want to pop out. I want to catch our breath. I want to take a break. When we come back, let's pick across your top 12 receivers in this year's draft. We will feature players like Jalen Royals, Jaden Higgins, something called an Elijah Badger. We will get into as well, and we will also break down the game of your alleged godson, Trey Harris, who I don't know if anybody loves Trey Harris more than Derek Brown. He's Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. I'm Eric Balkman. This is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.
What's up, guys? Andrew Cooper here of Fantasy Alarm. And for me, the football season never sleeps. It doesn't. I don't care if the Super Bowl's over. I'm still rocking and rolling. And the best way to do that is with Dynasty Fantasy Football, because you can play all year round and you can get started right now. You can go in and play 2 different ways at myffpc.com. You can do a startup draft where you can go in and draft all the players from scratch and load up on rookie picks, especially if you like this rookie class. You want, Cam Ward or Ted McMillan. You can load up on those picks, get all those players, lock them in for the rest of their careers. Or you can go over and play a different way. You can pick up an orphan team. Sometimes people decide they don't want to play. FFPC will never fold those leagues. They just put those teams back up. And you can bid on them. You can pick them up and take over those teams, right? You check out what kind of picks they have, what kind of players they have. Sometimes you can even get a discount. Just make sure it's a team you like, grab them, and you're off and running. And then you're ready for this draft when it comes around at the end of April here. MyFFPC.com. If you've never played, use promo code ALARM. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more for your first time. And you can go get set up. You can do a startup. You can pick up an orphan team. You can start playing Dynasty right now, the game that never sleeps, the game that goes all year round.
High Stakes Fantasy Football Show rolls on here on the Better Sports Network. He's Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. I'm Eric Balkman from the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the HSFF show, the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, and the FFPC. Speaking of the FFPC, pick up a dynasty startup team today. Entry fees starting at $100, going all the way up to $5,000. 1,800 plus leagues over the course of the last decade and a half. None have ever folded. MyFFPC.com is where to go for some new dynasty startups available today. Derek, I want to pick through this here, your top 12 wide receivers in this year's draft. Now, I want to make this clear at the top. Even if Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, would you still put Tet McMillan above him, or would Hunter be your number one?
Nope. Tet's my wide receiver one.
So that's the thing we need to go into right now. I have heard a lot of people talk up Hunter, and some of the big thing that I keep coming back to with the cons of Travis Hunter is, well, he might be playing corner. Well, he might not be a full-time wide receiver. And to me, that suggests if he was a full-time wide receiver, then he would be number one. You are still putting McMillan ahead of Hunter. I have been a Tet McMillan doubter this whole process, this whole drafting season. And it's not like I dislike him because of the weekend, what I think is a weaker wide receiver class. McMillan's still up there for me, but I still get nervous about him. I'm going to give you the opportunity to try to sell me on McMillan. Many people have tried. Some have failed. Some have shifted me a little bit. I'm definitely higher on McMillan now here on April 21st than I was on February 21st or even March 21st. But why is McMillan your number one receiver in this class?
Okay, how do you want me to start this, Balky? Do you want me to tell you why I love Ted, or do you want me to tell you why Travis Hunter is not the wide receiver one?
Start with McMillan, and then we'll get to Hunter.
Okay. All right, sounds good, man. For me, I just look at the analytical profile in the film for Ted McMillan, and I just can't craft a narrative to where he's not my wide receiver one. If you look at the analytics, it definitely bears it out. I mean, for a player that was 17th and 21st, 10th and 11th in yards per route run and PFF receiving grade. You look at the size, you look at how he moves. There is not a player that should move through the way and the explosiveness, especially after the catch, the immediate acceleration and the start-stop ability of one Tedero McMillan. That guy is just electric. As soon as you put the ball in his hands, he doesn't move like a 6'5" wide receiver. He moves like somebody that's 6'1", 6'2". He's battle tested, man. Like, what do we would talk about? Like, if we think a guy can be a true wide receiver one and alpha in the NFL, it comes down to not only the analytics, but the testing. I mean, not only the analytics, but the film as well. And if you look at the film and the analytics from McMillan, he didn't face a ton of press, but when he did face it, he was really good against it. You look at what he did against man coverage. He is battle tested, Balky, against man coverage. Over the last 2 years, he has faced the 3rd and the 10th most man coverage targets among all FBS wide receivers. Now, how did he perform against man coverage? And this is one of the things that if you go and look at the elite of elite wide receivers in the NFL and fantasy, every single year, not only are they good in every other analytical departments that you want to look at as far as from an efficiency standpoint, they are all going to pop in yards per route run against man coverage. And so does Tedero McMillan. So again, I said large body of work. This isn't like we're talking he got like 5 man coverage targets in one season or the other. And it's small sample. This dude walked away. He was top 10 in that statistical category in every one of those seasons. And also, he was 8th and 10th in yards per route run. So top 10 in both seasons in both targets against man coverage and efficiency on a per route basis against man coverage. I think when you look at Tet's skill set, man, it's just that he can create yak. He can also get downfield. And for everybody, I love how we all kind of like, or at least not all, but how some of the stats get cherry picked to death about Tet. And then you hear it's like, yeah, but a guy that's running the 4.5s has never gone in the top 10 of the NFL draft in recent years. Really? So you just want to leave Marvin Harrison Jr., who didn't run the 40, out of that. Oh, the guy that he's comped to a lot in Drake London, who didn't run a 40 and went top 10 as well. We're just going to leave them out of this conversation because it suits our narratives, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we're being a little bit disingenuous then. So I don't care that he ran a 4.5. That's fast enough. And when you look at his skill set, He's got the ability to win both in contested situations. He's got the size to win above the rim, be a red zone weapon. He's been battle tested against man coverage, and he's put up the efficiency numbers. So there's just not an area where I can make a conversation for Tet to where I think that he shouldn't be the wide receiver one. And again, getting back to the after the catch ability, I mean, at his size, at 6'5", we're discussing a player that last year ranked second amongst all wide receivers in missed tackles forced, and he was 27th in YAC. So not only can he stretch the field, not only is a red zone weapon, not only can he beat man, beat press, he also can produce after the catch.
So I think the thing that, and by the way, fantastic stuff. You and Jared Smola from Draft Sharks, the two guys that have most successfully shifted me to chasing down that McMillan bandwagon and jumping on. The one thing I think I keep coming back to, and maybe this is a minor thing, I look at how he did not separate great from defenders in college. Now, you mentioned how he was still great in man coverage. And I think that when he is getting up to facing the elite of the elite, and I know you said he's battle tested, but he's not battle tested against NFL corners yet. I worry about the separation once it gets to the next level. You are not concerned with that.
Nope.
Why should I not be concerned with that?
Because I think when we discuss the conversation around separation, we need to also talk about that there's multiple types of separation. Not only can wide receivers earn, and the one that when people discuss separation and this topic gets brought up, the way that people discuss separation, it's always contextualized around early separation. What I mean that is, can a wide receiver win separation off the line early in the routes, and sometimes either right after the top of his stem? And that's where it's like, oh man, he just got cooked. The corner's in shadow realm. He's not even in the frame. Look at the wide receiver. That's when people talk about separation. But also, so Tet can earn early separation. I'm not saying that he can't. But the other thing where we talk about players earning separation is late separation. And people talked about this. Now, they don't talk about it now, Balky, but there were people out there discussing Jamar Chase that he couldn't earn couldn't earn separation.
Yeah, that's true.
T. Higgins.
Yeah.
This was a big talking point around T. Higgins. And I'm old enough to remember, Balky, and tell me if you remember this as well. Didn't we all live through the era when people said about the player that he was comped to, Drake London? There was a large hive out there discussing about how Drake London couldn't separate. I thought it then, and I'll fight it now.
Okay. All right. I think here, April 21st, 8:04 p.m., I have now been sold on Tet McMillan, and I attribute Derek Brown to pushing me over the edge, but there are plenty of other people on this show that help me get in that direction. Okay, so I'm good with McMillan now.
Okay.
You would still put him number one, and I get it why you would. Now, if Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, you'd put him number two. If he's not, you would not put him number two, obviously. Let's talk about why, first of all, if he is a wide receiver, why he still would not be number one for you.
He has got a lot of areas in his game that need to improve. And I'm not, okay, so let's break this down. So Travis Hunter, the raw areas of his ability or his game as a wide receiver, they make all the intuitive sense, man. Like for a player that you only have so many hours in the day, he's splitting focus between being a cornerback and a wide receiver. Okay, well, you're going to miss some of the things, the finer points of being a route technician, of playing the wide receiver position that other wide receivers, that is the only damn thing that they work on every single freaking week at practice, all day, every day, nothing else. Nothing else. So I understand why he has areas of his game that he has to improve upon. But I'm gonna before I go into the whole Travis Hunter soliloquy, Balky, I'm going to throw this back to you real fast and a really simple question I got for you. When you hear Travis Hunter discussed as a wide receiver, does anybody ever bring up the areas of his game that need to be continued to be honed and the things that he has to get better about? Or do people discuss Travis Hunter like he's an alien transplanted on this planet and he is just lock, set, forget the next OBJ out the box with the new car smell, and that there is nothing that he does not do extremely well at an elite level? How do you hear that conversation about him?
This is not an easy answer for me. There's two things I want to say to this.
All right, go ahead.
So number one, I think people, when they talk about him being an alien, when they talk about him being special, a generational thing, and I don't want to put myself in the minds of the people saying this, but my guess would be they are saying that because they understand how little he has been coached up in college, how little he has spent time in wide receiver rooms. And they are just allowing for the fact that this guy should be, if he was only a wide receiver in college, he'd be a lot higher up as far as our talent evals go. And I think that goes into it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, and I always forget.
Do they mention his
yes, that's what I'm. Go
ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. This is what I'm going to get to right now. I can't remember who said this. Somebody did. It could have been Matt Waldman. I could be wrong on this. Dave Kluge, maybe. I don't. I should be able to attribute this. I can't. But they talked about how oftentimes he is pinned by bigger, more athletic, stronger physical corners into the sideline, and that's something that, like, I remember Devontae Adams talking about how. He would use the sideline as his friend, to try to get that extra space when he was catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, and he knew how to set up his man. Travis Hunter does not know the fine points on that. And Travis Hunter, oftentimes, because he doesn't, or because he wasn't coached that way, or because he doesn't have the time to be coached up that way, will often be pinned against the sideline. And the window for him to make a play because of that, not because of his quarterback, but because of that, it's a lot smaller than it would be for a Ted McMillan or somebody, more polished receiver. Now, that said, in all the stuff I've listened to, all the stuff I've read, Derek, that's the only thing I ever remember anybody saying about the things that he needs to grow in his game. That's it.
And that's my problem with the conversation around Travis Hunter. There's not near enough discussion about what he does as a wide receiver, and in talking about the areas that he needs to continue to improve upon. It's just not discussed, man. I feel like when we talk about Travis Hunter, it's all the great things and none of the areas. And I'm not even saying things that he sucks at. I'm just saying things in areas that he needs to improve upon, because every prospect going into the NFL has areas to improve upon. Travis Hunter has a ton of them as a wide receiver, and yet those never make it into the conversation. They just don't. People talk about him like he's a finished product. Go stick him at X, and he's your wide receiver one from the hop. And I don't see that with Travis Hunter. I'm owning the fact that I think that he has other areas of his game as a wide receiver that he has to continue to improve. Specifically, first of all, let's just talk about the analytical profile of Balky. Can I put, and I just rattled off these numbers for Tetero McMillan when I said that he was 17th and 21st in yards per route run over the last 2 years, 10th and 11th in receiving grade. So just from an analytics perspective, can I put a wide receiver over Tetero McMillan that ranked 38th and 86th in yards per route run over the last 2 years over him? I can't. And 6th and 42nd in receiving grade? I can't. Now, also, you look at just in getting into the finer points of Travis Hunter's game, dude, I think that he can succeed from day one if a team uses him and tries to, like, get the ball in his hands on screens, put him in the slot, let him face off coverage. If they stick him at X and he faces man and press a ton, and he's asked to go be a guy that plays on the boundary 90, 89 to 95% of his routes and stuff like that, I think there's going to be growing pains in the NFL because Travis Hunter, and it bears out both on the film and the analytics. People out there at the pro day at Colorado, you saw some of the tweets and stuff, and it's like Travis Hunter running TikTok routes out here with wasted footwork and stuff like that. That's not just at the pro day. It's all over his tape. And that's not going to help you. Like all these exaggerated footwork things, that might look great on TikTok. And when we're talking about workout videos in the summer and stuff like that, and a dude's running shirtless against somebody on a practice field, okay, cool, whatever. That's not how you get open in the NFL. That lack of efficiency in your movements, both in the route at the top of your stem, if we're talking about timing routes and concepts, it's going to put you off schedule. Like there are times on the Colorado film where Travis Hunter runs a double move or go ball, and he deploys footwork in the middle of it, and it's like, And you'll see Shadur throwing to a spot downfield. Travis Hunter doesn't make it there because he has wasted inefficient footwork in his routes. So that's not going to get it done. And to your point about the boundary, I'll expand upon that. He has issues with physical corners that get up in there and he gives up his chest and they can press him. They can get on him and be in his back pocket. He's got to learn more releases. He has to learn how to use his upper body and be more physical with physical corners, because you're not facing that on an every single week basis in college. There's a ton of off coverage, and a lot of guys don't face high amounts of press. And even when you need the finer points of playing wide receiver to do that, and it bears out just from the simple fact of not only on the film, and I could break down that for days, but also in the analytics. 268 qualifying wide receivers last year, Balky. Travis Hunter was 40th in yards per route run against zone. Against man coverage, 78th. It's not a bad mark. I'm not saying it's a bad mark. But is it elite? No. Is it as good as he is versus zone? No. So I'm owning the fact that Hunter has areas of his game that he has to continue to improve upon, as well as if you want to just jump into the fact of, okay, his ability after the catch, he is good at generating yak. He is not elite. I mean, he had 4.4 yards after the catch per reception over his collegiate career. That is not a good mark by any way, shape, form, or fashion, no matter how you stretch it. As well as you want to go into his final season, and everybody will point to the 24 missed tackles that he's forced. And I forget where he ranked in the class as a whole with that. It was extremely high, but also not just trying to nitpick him, but we have to also understand context with their games and all of these counting stats. So I'm trying to give context to these numbers. 24 missed tackles is really freaking good. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to put him somewhere, and not off the top of my head, but like top 15 in the class last year amongst wide receivers. 7 of those came against Texas Tech. 7 of those, who categorically was one of the worst tackling teams in all of college football. So when you take that out, say like he has a normal game and he forced, like, because all the other games, Travis Hunter, 1 missed tackle in 3 games, 2 missed tackles in a number of other games. He had no more than 3 missed tackles forced in any other game of the entire freaking season. So if you take that number and you go from 7 to 3, and you say he wasn't playing one of the worst tackling teams in all freaking college football, and that number drops to, say, 20 or 18 or 17, whatever it is, then it goes from being not elite level, but just pretty decent.
What about this? So let me throw this at you. Regarding Travis Hunter and all this polish he needs, do you think if he is, because Cleveland's probably taking number 2, and they're probably going to make him a wide receiver, and they'll probably moonlight him at corner. That, at least that's, do you view how that's going to happen? Is that how you
I mean, right now, the way that Cleveland's talking about him, I think he goes number 2, and Andrew Berry has been very, very fervent about the fact that he is going to be a full-time wide receiver.
Okay. So if that happens and he is getting full-time wide receiver coaching and full-time wide receiver film room and full-time wide receiver work, do you think that a lot of this stuff is alleviated, maybe not in 2025, but in 2026, his game is totally changed and a lot of this stuff is unlocked?
Yep, could be. Absolutely could be. And I want to give a comparison to a guy, and this is talking about the ceiling and stuff like that, but I also want to be very, very honest about his evolution as a player right in front of our eyes at the NFL level. I was lower on Brian Thomas Jr. coming out as a prospect because we hadn't seen him run a full route tree. He was playing along other immensely talented players. The thing about Brian Thomas Jr. is there were questions of what could he be, not necessarily who he is right now. And we saw that evolution and growth at the NFL level. Could Travis Hunter have a Brian Thomas Jr.-esque rookie season where we see him grow in releases, grow as a wide receiver right in front of our eyes, and we walk away with saying, holy crap, he did everything we thought he was going to do? That could happen, dude. I'm not saying that can't happen, but what I'm saying is if he doesn't do that, then there are going to be growing pains. And some people might feel disappointed with the production that they get out of him as a wide receiver. And I just don't think that that is how the conversation is routinely framed around Travis Hunter. So it's the divide on how I see him versus the consensus. Could he be BTJ? It's possible. But like Brian Thomas Jr., I had questions about his game and areas that he had to improve in. I think the same thing about Travis Hunter. We could walk away and he could be the wide receiver 1 of this class in 2 years when we look back at it. Hell, even after the 2025 season. But right now, as we're sitting here talking about where his game is right now, today, I can't make that assertion.
Okay, so that's fine, and it's totally fair, and I totally get it. Let's say Cleveland takes him at the 102 in the NFL draft. At what point do you start considering him in your single quarterback dynasty leagues, in your rookie drafts? At what point does Hunter suggest to you, like, oh, hey, Derek, look at me right here. I think I'd make a great wide receiver for you. I think I'd make a great draft pick for you. At what point does Debro start considering Travis Hunter, the Cleveland Brown, in his rookie draft?
103, right behind Ashton
So
Jensen.
So still super high, right?
Yeah.
So you're still betting on the raw
He
talent.
would be my wide receiver 2 of the class. Yeah,
Okay.
He would be right in the conversation with all of those running backs. Like, I think the conversation would start at the 103, and it could be all the way to like the 105, 106, depending on how we want to put him in between all these other running backs, like that could go round 1, round 2 of the NFL draft. So
okay, so totally fair on Hunter here. Now this is where it gets compelling, at least for me. So right now, if Travis Hunter is a corner or if he's not a wide receiver, your number 2 in this class is not Matthew Golden. It is not Emeka Egbuka. It is one Trey Harris. Trey Harris, who I've gone back and forth on this guy. You have the selling powers of a politician, Derek. So I think I'm going to be, I think I'm going to be pro Trey Harris after this conversation here. But this is a player that you are so high on. In fact, you have put him number 2 in your wide receiver class. Why do we need to bump up Trey Harris in our wide receiver rookie rankings here?
I love when I get to a prospect and it's not only the fact does he pop in analytics but then you turn on the film and you see that because there are a lot of guys when I get to film and I say, all right, the analytics are freaking awesome. There's a lot of guys where I get to the analytic, like I open up their analytical profile, we'll see where, and I sort them and all that kind of stuff, and I see where they're at. And then when I get to the film, I'm like, the film it's not to the same level as all these numbers, and you get better context about those numbers. I absolutely love when I get to players and the analytics and the film line up. And that's how I felt about Trey Harris this season. You look at where he's at from a numbers perspective. He's not just this one-hit wonder. He's not a guy that just really like, oh, it's only 2024, and then he got hurt, and he didn't do anything after that. Oh, and he's an older prospect, and blah, blah, blah. We are discussing a player that throughout the entirety of his collegiate career, he had at least 2.17 yards per route run in every single season. He also had 6.7 or higher yak per reception in each of the last 2 years. He also had 61% or higher contested catch rate on targets in 2 of the last 4 seasons, as well as if you just look from on a per route basis, everybody has probably already like talk circles. So we all know his efficiency metrics and how they were just otherworldly in 2024. But in 2023, we are talking about a player that not only for 2024, but 2023 was 9th in yards per route run, 6th in receiving grade, and was 18th in yards per route run against man coverage. You marry all of that with turning on the film, Balky, like he is a true X receiver. He can generate yak. He can break tackles. And I'm not saying he's a burner, but I think one of the most overrated things for wide receivers is raw speed, like 4.2, 4.3 speed. Dude, how many elite wide receivers do we have in the NFL that don't have that? Like, I'm old enough to remember Cooper Kupp winning a freaking MVP season and going legend mode on people. I'm old enough to remember Puka Nacua was too damn slow to sit there and play the wide receiver position. T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins, all these different guys who were fast enough And it's the route nuance, and it's the ability after the catch, and it's their games in totality that matters much more than who ran a 4.3 40. So with Trey Harris, it's the analytics, it's the film, it's multiple years of production. I mean, it's just all the things in one, man. And plus, it's not like he went out and again, I'm talking about this guy like people would think that like I'm talking about him like he didn't go out and test well. Like he didn't go out and test like an otherworldly, ridiculous athlete. But dude, a 9.2 RAS, 4.5 40, okay. But then like the vert was 91st percentile. The broad jump was 83rd percentile. It's not like he's a schlub either, Balky.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I hear you talk about Trey Harris. I hear you talk about his profile, and how he's not like a 10.0 RAS guy, but he's not a 5.0 RAS guy either.
Yep.
And how technical he is, and how he was able to go up against the best of the best in the SEC. To me, this screams, and I'm going to tell everybody, and Derek, you may or may not know this. You probably don't know this. I'm doing my local radio show here in Northeast Wisconsin live at the NFL draft from noon to 1, all 5 days this past week up in Green Bay, right? Live from the draft. And I think like the Packers fans that are desperately waiting to find out what wide receiver Green Bay is going to draft, Trey Harris could be an excellent selection for the Packers in the second round. And he kind of fits what they do. And so and everything you brought up with Harris is going to lead into my next point. Speaking of the Packers, because this is who I have as of right now, the Packers taking in the first round of the NFL draft, the all-time leading receiver for the Ohio State University, Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka, to me, suggests a very technically sound profile, a guy who does everything right, a guy who is polished. He is not the fastest guy in the world. He's not going to blow you away with this 3-cone or anything like that, but he is a good receiver. He's a good football player, and he can catch the ball, which to me, I think that if the Packers are not taking Trey Harris in the second round, it could be because they took Egbuka at 23 in the first round. Regardless of if he goes to the Packers or if he goes to somebody else, I think Emeka Egbuka is a guy who can step in for whatever team that drafts him from day one and be great. I don't know if he'll ever be top 5 or even top 10 fantasy receiver great, but that's okay because Egbuka still matters for fantasy when it comes to being a top 20 guy for 5 years or 6 years, which I think is definitely in his wheelhouse. How do you feel about him, Derek?
I could not agree with you more, Balky. Like, that's one of my biggest problems with how people talk about this wide receiver class. They talk about this class like it's not very good. They talk about this class like, oh, it doesn't have guys that have high upside. Dude, like Trey Harris has high upside. Tedrow McMillan has high upside. And then they talk about Emeka Egbuka and they say, he's really good. He's really solid. He beats zone coverage. He's a damn good route runner. He's probably going to go inside the top 50 picks, maybe a first round pick. And yet we're not supposed to be excited about that. You're not supposed to be excited about knowing exactly what you're getting as a player. Like I get that. Let me just, and I hate to interrupt you, but I want to. No, go ahead.
I think Egbuka, I don't want to say hate, but the lack of love, I think for him, for a lot of us, is like we've seen the success of Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we've seen some success with Marvin Harrison Jr. and then obviously Jeremiah Smith last year. And we're like, well, Egbuka was never the number one with all those guys, but those other guys, Derek, they're really, really good. And I think that unfairly weighs down Egbuka because this guy could be awesome when he gets to the NFL. He's always been playing at wide receiver U and always been playing with really, really talented receivers. It's tough to be the guy in that offense.
So I'm going to go harken back. Was Brian Thomas Jr. the number one wide receiver?
He was not. He was not.
Did that? I forget, Balky. Did that hurt him going to the NFL or
the top? If we redraft in dynasty rookie leagues last year, the top 2 receivers that go first are both from LSU, no question.
And so, encapsulating all of this all brings me back to, dude, like I hate the narratives around this wide receiver class. Because people talk about it like these guys there's no ceiling. They're not very good. They're wide receiver 2s. They're not that. Dude, if I were to tell you like everything you outlined from a skill perspective is right. But if he's Jackson Smith and Jigba, if he's Rashee Rice, if he's Robert Woods, isn't that really damn good in fantasy football? Like a guy that we think and know based off of the pedigree, the testing, the analytical profiles, we think he's going to be really good. But can he be wide receiver 1 in Dynasty or any other or fantasy football in years? Does that mean that we shouldn't put respect on his name? We know what we're getting. Jackson Smith and Jigba last year, now everybody is so excited about him. He was the wide receiver 17. If this guy comes out and he gets 120 targets from the word go, 120, 130 targets, and that's possible considering where he could land, the draft capital and the talent, then everybody is going to shut up really quickly when he puts up a top 24 season, maybe in his rookie season. That could happen. And it's like, why do people not like that? I don't hear people tossing shade about that type of talent and profile and targets on Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't hear people tossing shade about Devonta Smith for being just a wide receiver 2 in fantasy and on his team. Why is it that is what's tossed at so many guys in this class as a detriment, as something that is bad? Why is that bad, Balky, in fantasy?
Yeah, it's not.
How?
It's not. I think that we just have especially coming off a wide receiver class that we did last year, Derek. Like maybe we just have unfair expectations. Maybe we just think like everybody should be a Neighbors, everybody should be a Thomas. And when we see a class like this where we see potential for that, but probably not like realistic. I don't want to say realistic potential because who knows what's real and what's not. We're all living in a simulation. But I want to, in regards to Egbuka and Harris and McMillan, I don't think they got us excited last year as Harris and not necessarily Thomas, but Neighbors for sure. And maybe that's a media thing. Maybe that's us not driving home the correct players to the dinner table where fantasy players can eat this stuff up. I don't know. Maybe that's on us. You are doing your best to tell everybody, like, look, this is the real. This is what you should be expecting for this year. And just because it's not filet mignon doesn't mean it doesn't fill you up, because it will fill us up as fantasy players.
I mean, the other side of that is, for everything good that we talk about last year's class, can we also talk about like the idea of last year's class and the reality of last year's class? Like, didn't we also get a bunch of guys that didn't fire? Like, the jury's still out on who Ricky Pearsall is going to be. Ladd McConkey was freaking awesome. Xavier Legette was a first-round pick last year, if everybody forgets, and he wasn't good last year. So as much as we puff and praise last year's class, and I'm not saying that it wasn't good, in the same breath, everybody's like, but this year's class sucks. And I'm like, bro, I don't agree with that at all.
Well, because it's just recency bias. That's all it is. It's us, short attention spans. Listen, this is a road I don't want to go down because it will literally take up the rest of the show. Let's talk about Jalen Noel here. Jalen Noel, I hesitate to say he's moving up draft boards because I don't know what NFL teams are doing, but I have noticed a lot of positive pub coming up from Jalen Noel recently. He ranks number 4 on your top 12 receivers this year. And I think this goes back to my whole I was talking about Jim Coventry on the RotoWire marathon today about this. And I said, in baseball, just because you're a good thrower, that doesn't necessarily make you a good pitcher. And for Jalen Noel, for wide receivers in the NFL, just because you're fast doesn't make you a great wide receiver. I think Noel does a lot of the technical stuff that's kind of being underrated right now by a lot of us, myself included. And I think we need to be paying more close attention to Jalen Noel, especially landing spot, when we find that out in a few days. You like him. He's your number 4 guy.
Dude, I have loved Jalen Noel ever since I watched him before the Senior Bowl, before he went out and tested, before all those different things. And he went to Mobile and put on a clinic. Nobody could guard him. And he gets categorized and talked about, and I think that he will be a predominant slot receiver in the NFL. But I don't want people to get it twisted, man. This guy can play on the outside. And whether it was reps in Mobile, whether it was what he showed on his tape in college, He won from the outside. He won from the slot. He won deep. He won short. There was not anybody that could shut him down in Mobile. And the guys that have done that over the last few years have been really, really stinking good in the NFL. Ladd McConkey went there and put on a damn show. Puka Nacua went there and put on a show. Christian Watson, I know that he can't stay healthy, but he put on a freaking show. All of those guys have had their moments or have proven in the NFL that they are really, really, really good at football. And Jalen Noel did that, man. If he would have gone, and I'll say this to you, Balky, if Jalen Noel would have gone to an SEC school, if Jalen Noel would have gone to a college that had a really, really good quarterback, and I'm sorry, Rocco Beck, they ain't it. If he would have gone to either one of those things, and I'll just even say SEC school, if Jalen Noel was not coming out of Iowa State, if Jalen Noel was coming out of Alabama, if Jalen Noel was coming out of LSU and did the things that he did at the Combine and has done the things that he did at Mobile, people would be talking about Jalen Noel as a possible first-round draft prospect, as they should be. This guy is really good, man. Like, it's not only is he really freaking fast, yes, quietly, because here's the thing. I've seen people's write-ups about him that are just categorically wrong. When people say he cannot stretch the field, he's a slot-only guy. He gets hit with this moniker of, well, he's a slot guy. You know, oh, low A dot, oh, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Balky, do you know who was second in all of FBS in deep receiving yards last year? I'll give you a hint. It was Jalen Noel. And nobody talks about that enough.
No, wow. I didn't even know that.
Second.
That's crazy.
Second in all of FBS. He goes out and he tests otherworldly. He has a 41-inch vert. So the fact that he's 5'10", I don't care. When he has a vert, when he jumps off the ground and he goes to sky for a ball in the air, he is in the rarefied air of a guy that's 6'1", like 6 foot, 6'1", with a decent vert. That's the level where he's at. And then you add all of that. He's physical at the catch point. Dude, this guy has some nasty catches on his film where if people just want to go pull up the highlight tape and just enjoy the hell out of some football, go watch Jalen Noel's highlight reels where he is skying over two different guys and adjusting to a back shoulder ball running up the seam. He has verticality to his game. He's not the most explosive yak player, but he can generate yak. I mean, I love this guy. Like, I think that they're I'm going to sound like I'm getting over my skis here, Balky. If we look back on this NFL draft class and Jalen Noel is Amon-Ra St. Brown 2.0, I'm not going to be shocked, dude. I'm really not. I'm not. I'm not.
Speaking of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Adam Hahn, who's watching us on YouTube tonight, has a question about Amon-Ra St. Brown's real-life teammate in Jameson Williams. Do you love Jalen Noel more than Jameson Williams? And I don't know. Take that for right now. Take that for how you thought about Jameson Williams coming into the NFL. I don't know how you feel about this.
I will say this, Adam, my prospect, the way that I evaluate prospects is a little bit different between that class and this class. So some of the changes and how I watch film and how I'm dicing up their games. I will say I love Jameson Williams coming out. I loved him as a prospect. Now as a player, I think that they're in the same kind of tier, man. I think their games are wildly different. I think if you just look at where Jalen Noel is in his game, I think his ceiling is higher than Jameson Williams.
It's interesting. And I'll tell you what else is interesting. And you, Derek, you won't know where I'm going on this one, but that's okay, because I'm going to get to where we're going to go. 70 years ago this year, 70 years ago, that's 7 decades, there was a song released by the Man in Black, Johnny Cash. It was called Folsom Prison Blues. We're celebrating the 70th anniversary of that this year. And why am I bringing up Folsom Prison Blues? Because it was recorded live at Folsom Prison in Folsom, California. I have not thought about Folsom, California in any other sense at all other than Folsom Prison Blues until now, when I see that one Elijah Badger, who currently ranks as number 9 on your top 12 receivers list, attended Folsom High School in Folsom, California. The city that Johnny Cash made famous. Elijah Badger is about to join the Folsom, California Mount Rushmore, along with Johnny Cash and probably a couple other people. You love this guy. I shouldn't say you love him. You love him relative to the field. You have him 9. You have him above Jalen Royals, Jack Besh. You have him just below Luther Burden III as well. What are we missing out on? What am I missing out on Elijah Badger?
So I think he's one of these guys that's just kind of gotten lost in the sauce. I don't think that he's gotten nearer the discussion that he should. Because the quarterback play for a lot of last year at Florida was just Mertz is not good, man. Like it's just a reality. And
ironically, just to interrupt, nobody cares about this, but Graham Mertz came from Wisconsin, transferred to Florida, and he was throwing to Elijah Badger, and they still couldn't make it work. So that's proof positive. Graham Mertz is not a good NFL.
No, he's not good, man. And this all comes down to, like, when you look at Elijah Badger and look at his tape and what he did in college, he was an elite yak and rack guy. He was a guy, at Arizona State in 2022 and 2023, he was freaking fantastic, man. They basically used him as a low A dot guy, much like a Deebo Samuel, what have you. Put the ball in his hands like a Luther Burden. Put the ball in his hands and let him go just moss dudes. In 2022, he ranked 3rd amongst all FBS wide receivers in missed tackles forced. In 2023, he was 7th in missed tackles forced and 13th in yak per reception. So you think, okay, well, he transfers from Arizona State. He also sustained a pretty significant back injury in 2023. I'm not that worried about it because, to me, he already proved proof of concept that he's healthy, but with a healthy 2024 season. So I'm not worried about that. But that medicals box does need to get checked by NFL teams. But in 2024, after proving over 2 years that put the ball in my hands, I'm going to go just crush dudes in the open field. After that, Florida said, well, you're really, really good at that. That's not at all how we're going to use you. Nope. Not going to use you at all. We're going to take you and we're going to put you in the offense and we're going to make you our field stretcher. We're going to make you the deep shot guy. You're the guy that's just going to go run down the field, and we have really inaccurate quarterbacks down the field. So all I could say is good luck, young sir. But that's what Elijah Badger was asked to do. So after 2 years of operating as an underneath guy with an 8 out of 10.2 and 7.3, he goes to Florida in his final season, Balky.
Yep.
His ADOT balloons to 17.3. And in that process, Elijah Badger this last season in college was 14th in yards per route run, 29th in receiving grade. Against man coverage, he was 9th in yards per route, 14th in yards per route run and 9th in receiving grade against man coverage. He crushed it. He crushed it from every single analytical box that you want. And he's done it, Balky, in multiple roles over multiple seasons. So regardless of whatever a role that a team wants to put him into, whether it's we want you to be the deep stretch the field kind of guy, I don't think that that's the role. If any team has watched his film, I don't think that's the role that he operates in the NFL, but he can do it if asked to. Or we put you into a low ADOT role, or maybe a hybrid of both, ask you to just run the complete route tree, which again, over 3 years, he's proved he can do, Balky.
Yeah.
Not only can he get deep, but he can beat guys underneath. That's the kind of player that I want to invest in. That's the kind of player that I want to be high on when we're talking about this wide receiver class. And I like Jack Besh. Don't get it wrong. Like, don't get it twisted, people. I like him and Jalen Royals. But if you look at what Badger's collegiate production profile looks like, and he goes out, he tested really well. He's coming from not even a small school, but we have multiple years at good programs to prove that he is a good football player. I just think that he's one of these guys that's kind of getting lost in the sauce, and he's just not getting discussed enough about because he didn't have the large, just insane counting stats. But hell, nobody coming out of Florida last year did.
I think we have to keep in mind that players like this can hit. Players like this who are, in Badger, to his own detriment, like because of him, because of his situation, probably as Debro's alluding to, is going to be a day 3 pick, and he may be a special teams guy. And maybe in your shallow dynasty leagues, you don't look at him. But in your deeper ones, I think you need to be paying attention to Elijah Badger here going forward. Number 9 on D-Bro's top 12 list for receivers. Check that out at FantasyPros.com if you want to find out who else is on there and who's not on there, which I think is very compelling as well. The Big Gorilla tournament going on, myffpc.com, $1 million grand prize. Check it out right now. Early Rampage and 7 Bananas promos are live. myffpc.com. $50 discount for every third team you pick up. And once again, myffpc.com. Let's catch our breath, Derek. When we come back, I want to talk about your guys, rookie running backs. Now, there are a lot of rookie running backs we have discussed over the course of drafting season. I'm not going to focus on them so much. I want to focus on the guys that are going to go late day 2, day 3, guys that we want to know about in our round 3, our round 4 of our Dynasty rookie drafts. Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Joining me tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network, I'm Eric Balkman. So much more to get to. Don't you go anywhere.
Andrew Cooper here of Fantasy Alarm. And if you're anything like me, football season never ends. Super Bowl's over. Who cares? We got a lot of speculation to do. And the best way to take advantage of that is at myffpc.com. Mock drafts are fun. They're fine. But if you really want to get leverage, get in one of their never too early best ball drafts or never too early super flex drafts now, where you can take advantage of all your takes. I'm in there now because I got hunches, right? I got ideas for free agency. I got ideas for the drafts. I got ideas for the 2025 NFL season, and I want to get them on paper now. And I want to do so before the NFL draft, right? Before the cat's out of the bag. That's the beauty of these contests, right? You go in and you get set up, and the drafts are already going, and they end on April 24th, right when the NFL draft starts. So you can get in there, get all your takes in, take advantage of everything before everybody finds out what happens. Use promo code ALARM at myffpc.com when you get set up. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more, and you can get in these tournaments, the never too early best ball and the never too early super flex contest, to get your shot at $10,000 or $40,000 grand prizes.
Less than 4 dozen teams to go in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, which is going on right now at myffpc.com. Register now for a $40,000 grand prize, $125 entry fee on this. The tournament is going to go until we fill up these teams or until the draft starts on Thursday night in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Drafts available daily right now with a 60-second clock. Sign up today, myffpc.com. We have all the live drafts are filled for tonight, but we got 2 of them going on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, and 3 on Thursday. myffpc.com. Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros at dbro_FFB joining me tonight on a special Monday pre-draft edition of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network. I want to get into your guys, Derek, for running backs. We're going to go rapid fire on these guys because I think it makes perfect sense. Yes or no, is Ashton Genty one of your guys?
Yeah, easily.
Travion Henderson.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Caleb Johnson.
Yes, sir.
RJ Harvey.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now let's get into the minutia. Not the minutia, because this is not the minutia yet, but we will get into the minutia. DJ Giddens is a player that I was not focused in on in my early drafts, January, February. I've been beginning to pick up more shares of him because I love the athletic profile. I feel like the NFL is shifting towards running backs who can bust off an 80-yarder and make plays in space, right? It's all about explosive plays in the NFL right now. And I think that's something that Giddens excels at. And I feel like whoever drafts him, this guy is going to have a role from day one. And I'm not going to say he's going to light the NFL on fire in September and October, but I definitely see a path for him for fantasy goodness his rookie year and each subsequent year going forward, as long as he has this athleticism. I really have grown to love DJ Giddens, and it's apparent that you love him too.
Oh, I love that kid, man. Like, his film is so much freaking fun to watch. He's my RB6 of this class. I mean, and again, going back to mirroring the analytics and stuff like that, 16th in yards after contact per attempt, 6th in breakaway percentage last year. I think he's got upside as a wide receiver. His hips are a little bit tight, but dude can run ankle routes. He can run whip routes. He's got the size to be a 3-down back. And the things that he does in the second level of a defense, the ability to put his foot in the ground and get lateral, and then all of a sudden, like, he's avoiding, like, the thing that I love, and this just kind of goes like from a 100-foot view here, Balky, is that give me running backs that can create yards by themselves, whether it's tackle breaking ability, the ability to jump, cut, juke, creating in the second level. Also, like, if a guy hits them and contacts them behind the line of scrimmage, what are they going to do? Are they going to fold and go down like a rag doll, or are they going to be able to like stiff arm a dude and create something out of nothing? Those guys, you can airdrop them into any team. It doesn't matter if the offensive line is top shelf or it's bottom of the barrel. They're going to produce. And Giddens is one of those guys, man. Like, just, he's so much fun to watch, man. Like, the ability that he has in the second level and the artistry that he has is just, it's a lot of fun.
I want to move on here and talk about Brashard Smith, a player that I treated very similarly to DJ Giddens, where I was not on him right away. I'm definitely on him now. This is a player. You have Giddens number 6. Where does Smith rank for you? Because this is another one of your guys at the position.
RB9. Got him in top 10 back in this class. And so when I'm ranking all of these guys pre-draft, Balky, it comes down to like its skill set and its talent. And I'm hoping that we get draft capital. So obviously, like, post NFL draft, if you know, some of these guys go in round 3 versus going in round 5, then it's going to change the flavor of the Kool-Aid for some of them. But looking at just the skill set, I love Brashard Smith, man. He goes out, he tests well, 4.39 speed. It's verified. Like, you can watch the tape and know that he's a burner, but verified at the combine. For a player that, if everybody is not aware with Brashard Smith's game, he was a slot receiver at the U for a number of years, transfers to SMU in his final year, converts from wide receiver to running back. He proves that he can handle volume. He can prove that, dude, just 1 year playing running back, nobody, if you were to tell people off the top, like, would know that just turning on his film. Showed really, like, impressive fluidity, impressive ability, and just, he took to the running back position like it was nothing, man. I mean, he's 34th in breakaway percentage, and this is a guy, again, Balky, if we're playing in PPR formats, FFPC.
Yep.
We want running backs that can get passes. Okay.
100%.
How about we talk about a guy that was a collegiate wide receiver? So all of the previous year's tropes of Antonio Gibson, Tyrone Tracy, blah, blah, blah. He's not as big as those guys. But what I'm getting back to is he is a true pass game weapon. You can line him up on the perimeter. You can run routes out of the backfield. He can run routes from the slot. And if he gets the draft capital, Yahtzee, baby. Like, Yahtzee.
I want to get to Taj Brooks here. Taj Brooks is another guy that I have not been drafting a whole lot, but I've noticed over the last couple of weeks the holes in my fantasy consumption game. I'm hearing a lot of guys, yourself included, talking up Taj Brooks. Now, he's an older prospect, right? But he has done some stuff. I think is it him and Omari and Hampton? I think I heard. The only guys in this year's class that have back-to-back 1,500 rushing yard season, him and Hampton. And Taj Brooks is a guy who has much lower draft capital here, but for fantasy, guy who's going to go on day 3. We need to know about him, Derek.
Dude, he reminded me of so much with his skill set of, and I know that people are going to hear this name and they're going to automatically just crap on it, but let's all get in the time machine and let's teleport back to this player's rookie season, what he was able to do, and talk about his skills and his talent in the proper way. I see so much of Dameon Pierce when I watch Taj Brooks as a bowling ball back, a guy that, and if you look at the analytics, his analytical profile as a pass catcher is not great. I'm not going to tell anybody that it's great, but if you look at just turn on the film, what he's able to do as a pass catcher, he is underrated as a pass catcher, as well as he's really freaking good at pass protection. Like, this guy's a stud pass blocker. Like, amongst 230 pass blocking snaps in college, he allowed 2 sacks, 5 hurries. So NFL teams can trust him to play on all 3 downs from the word go as soon as he gets his feet under him. And he only had 2 drops in college, and I watched both of them. They were only the concentration variety, Balky. So a trusted pass catcher coming out of the backfield. He can pass protect. He's proven that he can handle volume. Go look at the laundry list of carries and all the volume he racked up at Texas Tech. And, I mean, the guy's just a bowling ball, man. Like, he's got a good low center of gravity. He can break tackles. And the tackle breaking metrics didn't look really good this last season, but I want to give a little bit of context to that. The Texas Tech offensive line was god-awful. They were 52nd in run blocking grade. And if you look at the archetype of player that Taj Brooks is, he's not lightning in a bottle. He's a guy with build-up speed. So he needs a little bit of a runway to get going. But once he can put moves on guys in the second level. He can create for himself with a short area agility, but he's not a burner. So it's not like you give him the ball and all of a sudden he's 4 yards down the field. So the offensive line play is going to come into effect or play part of the equation when you look at efficiency metrics. But again, what's there not to like about this guy? I just hate it from Taj Brooks' standpoint. From in this loaded of a running back class, he's going to go round 5, round 6, probably the NFL draft. Now, in last year's class, dude, he would have gone round 3.
Yeah.
He would have been in that same conversation, or at least hovering around the same conversation as a Blake Corum as far as like round 3, round 4 draft capital. But because this running back class is so ridiculously good, he's getting pushed down the board. But I don't want people to lose his name in the shuffle, because they need to be grabbing him, stashing him on taxi squads, grabbing him with your final pick of a rookie draft, or taking shots on him depending on where he lands. Like, if you were to tell me we're living in a world, Balky, where Taj Brooks goes somewhere, there's an injury or 2 injuries in front of him, and he's this year's rookie season James Robinson or Dameon Pierce, dude, I'm not going to be shocked by that, because he has the freaking talent and he has the ability to withstand volume to do that.
882 Raz score. I'm glad you mentioned bowling ball, because before you even started talking about looking at this guy, 5'9", 215, this guy's a bowling ball.
He's got the build, dude.
Literally what did he and what was James Robinson? What was Dameon Pierce?
Same.
There's a lot of similarities. This is a guy that just needs the opportunity, so I like Taj Brooks. I mentioned earlier I'm doing my local radio show live from the NFL draft all this week in Green Bay. And one of the things I did with one of the guests I had on today was we did a 7-round Packers mock.
Ooh.
And he had in his final, the Packers have 2 picks in the 7th round. In his final pick number 250 for the Packers, he had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt going here. And I said, it's ironic because I'm doing a live show on the Better Sports Network tonight with Derek Brown for Fantasy Pros, and he's going to talk about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I know very little about this guy, but he is one of your guys in this drafting cycle, Derek.
He got screwed by the NCAA last year, and I'm not going to mince words, man. Like, this guy thought he had another year of eligibility. He plays his first game of the season for Arizona, and then it comes out, oh, wait, you're not eligible to play this year. You can't play this year, so we're just going to shelve you, and you're not going to play another game of football in college the rest of the year. And so he got screwed by the process. So when everybody sees what he did or wasn't he able to do, because he only played 1 game in 2024, I just want everybody to understand that wasn't related to any injury. So don't go Googling that. But if you look back to 2023, what he was able to do, Balky, there's so much to like about his game, man. Like, again, we're contextualizing, talking about a player that was 19th in yards after contact per attempt. He was 12th in elusive rating. The guy runs mean. He's a one-cut downhill guy. He can create yards for himself, has a really good feel about how to press the line, finding space, good vision. He utilizes cutback lanes. Like, I watch his tape and I'm like, his hips are a little bit tight. Like, he's not a guy that you're going to see juking people out of their shoes and stuff like that. But, I mean, he's solid across the board. He's a good pass catcher. He's actually pretty decent in pass protection. My comp for him is Marlon Mack. I really like his game a lot. Now, it's funny, we're talking about both of these guys together. Taj Brooks is my RB15 in my ranks, right behind Jarquez Hunter. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is my RB16, right above a highly touted guy that I don't love in Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, so here's the thing. We have talked about a lot of your guys here: Genty, Henderson, Johnson, Harvey, Giddens, Smith. We didn't get to Marcus Yarns. My apologies to Jason Allwine from Player Profiler, the other guy who loves Marcus Yarns more than anybody.
Love Yarns, dude.
Brooks and Krosky Merritt. I need to get into some of these guys you don't like. Before we get to Sampson, Quinshon Judkins is not one of your guys. He is down on your running back rankings. And I think this is interesting because there was a lot of people, and this is total helmet scouting, and you can tear me apart for this, it's totally fine. But a lot of people thought Travion Henderson was going to be the running back 1 of the 2024 draft. He comes back to chase NIL money and a national championship. They bring in Quinshon Judkins, whether Ohio State thought they needed him because they couldn't count on Henderson being the bell cow all year, I don't know. But Judkins comes in, they win the national championship, and now both are headed to the NFL. Now there are Team Judkins, there are Team Henderson. You are clearly Team Henderson and are waving bye-bye to the Judkins bandwagon as it leaves the station.
So going back to the numbers, Balky, if I were to tell you there was a running back that was continually in the top 5 of everybody's ranks, this is where he falls in terms of tackle breaking and efficiency metrics. Over the last 3 seasons, he's ranked 121st, 82nd, and 46th in yards to contact per attempt. He's 41st, 128th, and 23rd in breakaway rate. And he is, over the last 2 years, outside of the top 65 guys in elusive rating. Do any of those numbers stack up to you that should be a continual across-the-board RB, top 5 RB of this class? Because for me, it's not.
Yeah, not of this class. Last year, you could make the argument, but not this year.
No. And that's where Quinshon Judkins stands. Those are his numbers. And it's not like he's an elite pass catcher either. I mean, he ranks 55th, 97th in yards per route run over the last few years. In 2022, 0.63 yards per route run. It's not like you're going to talk about, okay, he's got the utility to do that. I think it's the helmet scouting. I think it's the fact that we know we can feed him volume and you know what you're going to get out of that, which a lot of it is I can make you a really good case that he runs really hard. He's also not getting a ton more than what is blocked for him. I can go get that from a lot of other running backs in this class. Like, why am I going to draft, if I'm an NFL team, why do I draft Quinshon Judkins and his overrated tackle breaking ability, or non-ability, should I say, in the second round of the NFL draft when I can get somebody like Damian Martinez in the 3rd or 4th round of the NFL draft? I can get any one of these other guys that on a per-touch basis are going to give me more juice for the squeeze. I just don't see it with Quinshon. Like, I think that people lose the context of, okay, I understand he went to a big college. I understand he put up counting stats, but there's more to breaking down these guys than the counting stats, man. And I don't see it, whether it's the film or the numbers with Judkins. And I knew I was going to get a lot of hate for it. I don't care.
All right. So I just drafted Dylan Sampson for the first time this season in a best ball draft. And I know we're talking more dynasty here, but I'll bring in Sampson. This is a player that I've heard a lot of pundits out there say that he's actually better than Jalen Wright, who was the highly drafted Tennessee running back last year. And Sampson this year is probably being penalized a little bit because he's in a much tougher running back class than Jalen Wright was. But you have, and who did we talk about? Krosky Merritt, did you have above Dylan Sampson? Is that correct? You are super down on Sampson. Why should the rest of us and FFPC players watching this, why should they be down on Sampson as well?
I mean, again, going back to the numbers and stuff with this guy, like, everybody talks about how fast he is and all, like, the speed and the home run plays. What home run plays are you talking about? Like, what are we discussing here? Oh, the running back that was 118th and 83rd in breakaway run percentage over the last 2 years. Oh, the player that has also been 51st and 77th in yards after contact per attempt. The player that everybody talked about, oh, he ran a 4.3 in high school and he's going to go blaze the combine, and then decided not to run at all. That's the player that we need to be. Oh, Dylan Sampson. No, I'm not doing it, man. Like, I'm not. When I look at Dylan Sampson's tape and I'll look at his tackle breaking metrics and I'll look at all those other things, it doesn't match up with the narrative that's out there for Dylan Sampson.
Okay. You and I are roughly the same age, I think. How old are you, Derek?
40. I'll be 42. I'll be 42 this year.
Okay. I'll be 46 this year, which is daunting.
I know, right? Like there's a lot of days where I feel like I'm in my 40s and a lot of days where I'm like, oh God, how did I get here?
Exactly. So I want to bring this up. I was working late last night, and one of the channels that was on my television, and I promise I'll get you somewhere in this. One of the channels that was on my television, I think it was like the Western Channel, had American Outlaws on. I don't know if you remember this film. It came out.
I do. Yeah.
Colin Farrell, Gabriel Mock.
Yeah.
Right.
Busey's son was in that too, wasn't he?
No, he was not. He was not. Scott Conn. You're thinking of James Conn.
The guy that looks like Busey's son, but he's not Busey's son.
Exactly.
Yeah. That guy. Yeah.
All right. So interesting you bring him up because the scene I'm going to talk about, there's a scene where one of the, and spoiler alert, 20 years later, one of the guys in the Jesse James
Dude, that movie is like a guilty pleasure. I actually
really totally.
It is a total guilty pleasure. A movie that you turn on and you're like, I'm watching this every time it comes on, and I ain't telling nobody about it. But now we're on YouTube talking about it.
So right? It's, the secret's out. So the scene I want to talk about, Gregory Smith, who is the actor who played Jim Younger. I think it was Jim Younger. Who was on Everwood with Treat Williams on the CW 20 years ago. That's another like, wasn't a guilty pleasure, but that was like the Dawson's Creek Roswell era of the CW.
Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's the thing. So there's a scene where he gets shot and he dies. And Jesse James, played by Colin Farrell, Gabriel Mock, played by Frank James, played by Gabriel Mock, decide to go their own separate ways. They're not going to rob banks anymore. They can't see their friends die.
Yep.
So they both they hug, they tip their hats, and they wave goodbye to the life that was robbing banks to save all these farms in the post Civil War era of the country. And I think that's not unlike the Cam Scadaboo truthers and haters right now. The Cam Scadaboo, there's going to be I know. There's going to be dynasty players out there that will just tip their hat, they will wave goodbye, and they will hug those on the Cam Scadaboo bandwagon, and they are happy to let somebody else draft Cam Scadaboo in their dynasty leagues. Derek, I feel like you are one of those players that, hey, listen, you like Cam Scadaboo? I'm not going to destroy you. I'm not going to rip you. I'm just not going to be one of you.
Yep. That's exactly where I'm at. I've got, so it's funny we're talking about Quinshon. So Quinshon, Cam Scadaboo, and then Damian Martinez, I have as my RB 10, 11, and 12. Those three guys comprise a tier unto themselves as the kind of like the nasty volume guys or the volume guys, the big nasties of this class. And with Scadaboo, it's just, dude, I don't know what his draft capital looks like. I think that.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you right here, Derek. How much if he goes in round 3 on Friday, are you bumping him up in your rankings?
I will bump him up some. So it depends on. Okay, the big shifting of everything with all these running backs is everybody in tier 3 and below. I mean, come on, Balky, you tell me this. Outside of Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, and Amarion Hampton, did any of us know what round these guys are going to go in?
No,
any of them could be round 2 to round 4 to round 5. Hell, we don't know, man. Yeah. Dylan Sampson could be a round 6 pick for all we freaking know. We don't know. And so with all of those guys, there's going to be a lot of shifting at the running back position in rankings. And with Scadaboo, it's not that I dislike his talent. It's just I know the archetype of player that I'm dealing with here. And we've seen this, like, if Cam Scadaboo goes in round 2 or round 3 of the NFL draft, a team is investing and getting behind him, and they're saying, we are going to feed him volume. And that's something that Scadaboo needs to pay off in fantasy for us. And I'm not saying that he's not a good pass catcher, but the other side of it is that just in the archetype of back that he is, if he goes in round 4, Balky, and he ends up in a committee and he's the early down guy, or he's not the every down guy, and he gets 9 to 12 touches on a weekly basis, with his archetype and his talent, what do you think those stat lines look like? It ain't going to be 9 carries for 75 yards. It's 9 carries for 34, 9 carries for 40. Does he get the touchdown or does he not get the touchdown? That's where I'm at with Scadaboo. If a team invests second or third round capital and they're saying, you are our guy, you're the new Kareem Hunt, cool. I'm going to bump him up ranks because a team invested in him. I'm worried because of the testing that the jumps were good, but the 40, we all knew you didn't need him to run the 40 to know he ain't very fast. Okay. He's fast, maybe fast enough, but everything else, it's like, if he's not going to be the volume guy, then what do we have here?
Yeah.
You're looking at like the early down goal line back in a committee. He's an
injury away type guy at that point.
Yeah.
That's what
I mean, he goes from being Kareem Hunt in one aspect of draft capital and a team investing him versus him being Tyler Algier. And is that really great in fantasy?
No,
it's not, man. And so, like, for me, yeah, I'm on the outside looking in. Will I adjust him if a team throws heavy capital behind him? Sure. It's not that I hate talent. And this isn't even going through all the other stuff like at the combine. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm not Ian Rappaport. I am not Jordan Schultz. I am not a source guy. And I'm not going to sit here and tell things that I don't know or make up things. But it also floated out there at the combine that there were work ethic concerns about him. There was not off the field stuff, but there was stuff worried about, like, or things floating around about his work ethic. And so it's like a player that we're worried about borderline athleticism concerns, draft capital concerns, and now we maybe have work ethic concerns. And then he got up at the podium and he basically said a lot of that. And this isn't me twisting his words, but when he's like, yeah, the coaches had to light a fire under me for my last season. I had to work out more. I had to shed body fat. I had to get my body right and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that he didn't do that, but everybody wants to shade Tedero McMillan for, he doesn't watch film, but nobody wants to talk about Cam Scadaboo talking about, hey, somebody had to kick me in the ass my final year of college to get me to do it. Well, guess what, dude? When you go to the pros, you're going to have even more free time. A certain amount of that is you got to be intrinsically motivated. And it comes down to, are you willing to do that? And is that going to be who you are? And I'm just going to close this with this question, Balky. How many running backs do you ever hear about workout or work ethic concerns about? Is that a running back thing that we ever hear about it?
It's not, because of how hard it is to be not only drafted, but being drafted with a purpose in the NFL. Like, the margins for success, like, we're willing to eschew stuff like that with quarterback, right? Or
you hear about diva wide receivers,
edge rusher, diva corners, like, that's fine. Because, and I've said this over and over again, there are not 32 people walking this earth that can play quarterback in the NFL. And I think you can extrapolate that to corners, wide receivers, edge rushers, whatever. Running backs, my God, the way the NFL pays them, there's an endless supply according to them. So, like, you have to be able to know your strengths, and obviously for Scadaboo, know your weaknesses. And cover those up. Don't let us know. You know what they are. Fix them. Don't tell us, because that's what's going to drive him down. And I totally get where you're coming from on Scadaboo and why he is not one of your guys for running back this year.
I just got I got questions and I got worries, Balky.
Yeah, which is fine.
Could I bump him up? Sure, but I'm also not going to blindly be okay with all this stuff.
And in this year's class, like, you could forgive some of that stuff in 2024. Could you forgive it in 2025? As the great Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. And I'll leave it at that. We are way over time. I have to let you go. Here's the thing. Derek Brown is going to be crushing it for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, as he always has. Tell us what you're doing for the draft this weekend, and if we can consume some live content from you.
Yeah, man, we're going to be live for day 1 and day 2 of the NFL draft. We're going to be streaming every pick, giving analysis, all the things you care about in fantasy on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. So please tune into that. We've got a ton of content already live on Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Seth Wilcock and myself did a Betting Pros episode today about how to bet the draft, as well as, we have episodes covering every single position, sleepers, polarizing players. But for the draft specific, yes, we will be live covering all the picks. I think in first round, dude, I think I'm on camera talking about football for 29 of those 32 picks, and I'm going to be loving every freaking second of it, dude. Can't wait. And then after that, I'm going to be updating all the articles and the primers and my top 100 board, which goes out and it's live on Thursday. That is also going to get updated. So all 100 players are getting updated outlooks after we get landing spots. Just a lot of work still to come, dude.
Just skill position players on that top 100.
That top 100 is only quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Like, I'm looking at it right now. I think I'm at 88 players, but legit, like, I've got 13 quarterbacks, 31 running backs, 39 wide receivers, and I'm sitting at 18 tight ends I will have written up with full scouting report, stats, and comps.
Derek, the last thing I have to say before we leave, Dom Gazzetti chiming this in, and I said I would do this. If you ever want to draft live, and I know you're busy in late August, but if you ever want to draft live, obviously come out to the FFPC in Las Vegas at Paris.
Oh, yeah, baby.
But if you want to do that 2 weeks before, we have a boatload of fun at Caesars Southern Indiana, just outside Louisville, Kentucky, for the Kentucky Football State Championship. Dom and I would love to have you come out. I draft in that every year. I do like 12 drafts in one weekend. It's a lot of fun. If you ever have the opportunity to, as Ferris Bueller would say,
love it.
I highly recommend it. Until
Dom's good people too. Got to shout out to Dom.
I met him last year. I hung out with him.
Yeah, I met him. We had our team trip at Fantasy Pros. Got to meet him and his fiance at girlfriend, fiance. I'm sorry, man. It's been a few sleeps. I'm sorry, but got to meet his significant other in Vegas, and they chopped it up with us for a while, man. He's awesome. He's both of them are awesome, actually. Like, I met him and his lady, and they are both amazing people, both awesome.
In Louisville last year, we got done drafting at about 10 or 11 at night, and then he and I and her and another longtime FFPC player, Dan Flamholtz, we hung out at the bar at Caesars. I think till about 4 a.m. Fantasy football.
Yeah, bulky 4 a.m. body shots go hard. Huh?
We would know there's no body shots involved. There's no body shots involved. But it was a lot of fun. If you ever can, Louisville is a fantastic place to be 2 weeks before the NFL season starts. Until then, we will continue to follow you. Dbro_FFB. Thank you so much, dude. I know how busy you are. I know you probably got about 3 more live streams scheduled later on tonight. So thanks for making some time for us today. Enjoy the draft. We will be watching you, and we'll have you back on at some point later in 2025 or 2026. Thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate it, dude. Appreciate the time. I always love chopping it up with talking ball with you, Balky. One of the best people in the industry, dude.
Oh, thank you so much. Back at you, my friend. MyFFPC.com is ready to go for Dynasty Startups, the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, and the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. No show this coming Thursday. Enjoy the NFL Draft. We'll be back live 7 o'clock next Thursday, May 1st, for our first episode. And by the way, some news coming on the show next week as well. So be tuned in for that. For Derek Brown, for Matt Deutsch, I've been Eric Balkman. This is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network.